Welcome to our Let's Talk Data podcast series. My name is Nathaniel Martinez, and I'm happy to introduce to you our topic for today. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe or follow our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Today, we are joined by Deloitte, one of our key partners who participated in the most recent content sprint for SAP Data Intelligence. Our SAP Data Intelligence product team works closely with partners such as Deloitte to develop specific use cases and content for SAP Data Intelligence. The content developed enables companies to get started quickly on specific scenarios, ensuring quick time to value. Today's podcast focuses on finance data reconciliation with data intelligence. We are joined today by host Lucas Morris and data experts Syin Tan and Zheng from Deloitte as they discuss the key challenges of data migration projects, new capabilities of SAP's suite of data products, and understanding the benefits of the solution the Deloitte team has built. Deloitte did this work during the SAP Data Intelligence Content Sprint. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Be sure to check out the links in the show notes to learn more.
Welcome to our Let's Talk Data podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. My name is Lucas Morris, a Deloitte finance expert, and I recently participated in the SAP Hackathon, and I'm happy to bring you today's topic on the top data considerations that you need to know now for digital transformation success. Today, we are joined by a few of my colleagues from Deloitte who have recently also participated in the Data Intelligence Hackathon.
Hi everyone, my name is Syin Tan and I am a finance recon specialist in Deloitte. Really happy to be on this podcast with you guys today.
Thanks, Shin. Hello everyone, my name is Kevin. I am one of Deloitte's many data enthusiasts and I am incredibly excited to be here as well.
Beautiful, thank you both for joining. For the listeners on the podcast, we are here to share our experience on SAP's Hackathon and also to bring awareness on three key points. Firstly, what are the key challenges of data migration projects that we need to get right? Secondly, what is the new solution of SAP's data product roadmap? And finally, what are the impacts of Deloitte's Hackathon team's solution? Beautiful, thank you, Kevin. So for the listeners on the podcast today, we are here to share our experience on the SAP Hackathon and also to bring awareness on three key points. So firstly, it's key challenges of data migration projects, especially within the financial data reconciliation space. Secondly, we want to explore new capabilities of SAP's suite of data products. And lastly, understanding the benefits from the solution that the Deloitte team have built using SAP's suite of data products. So in our first section, the first thing we actually want to bring to the table to talk about is data on SAP projects. So to yourselves, Shin and Kevin, what have you guys seen? Can you tell us about some maybe the unusual challenges of data products and experiences that you guys have had?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, Lucas. So when I think about this, the first few things that come into mind, of course, are people, processes, and technology. However, if I was to zone in on a specific area that does stand out, and this will probably sit across all three areas, that area that comes into mind, of course, will be financial reconciliation process.
Oh, okay. Could you maybe help us understand sort of what financial data reconciliation is?
Yeah, so I can speak to that. So I think financial data reconciliation, when it comes to projects, is really trying to make sure that the financial data that you have in your source system tallies up with whatever data that you're going to put into your target system. And I guess in more financial terms for finance people on the call, it's basically making sure your trial balance zeroes out and making sure all your financial ledgers in your target system or your new system those zero out and are good to go to be used for business, both at the account and profit center level. So that's financial reconciliation.
Yeah, interesting. So I guess you could say that financial data reconciliation is basically just ensuring that the opening balance in the target system is going to be consistent with the closing balance in that source system. Is that sort of correct, roughly?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, beautiful. So I guess I imagine that would be quite important. So what would be the impact if your data doesn't reconcile? And because I guess in my head, I'm thinking, could we not just maybe post a journal in the target system to offset that difference and resolve?
Yeah, I think that's a great question and very important one as well, Lucas. In data projects that we've been on or I've been on, to some extent, the business can accept some small differences, and they do use journals to kind of offset. But I think we don't want to miss the point here and bring awareness that what is more important is that for every project, how a project is deemed to be successful is when a project team is able to prove that there's $100 value match on the data that they've migrated, with the exception of small non-material differences. But what they really want to see is to be able to reconcile 100% of that dollar value.
Yeah, right. It sounds obviously extremely important to be able to get that 100% reconciliation.
Yeah, and I guess I'll add a bit more here is also why is it extremely important is because organizations have this obligation to meet certain compliance or auditory policies especially when they are migrating into a new system. They actually need to prove that they have a 100% reconciliation.
Yeah, and just to jump in on that as well, you also want to make sure you start off with the right foundation as well. You don't want to have these unexplainable amounts in here to begin with, because at the end of the day, the quality of your input data translates directly to the quality of your output data, especially in your new system as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's excellent insight from the both of you. Thanks so much. And I guess hopefully this will bring greater awareness to our listeners on the podcast as to the financial data reconciliation. I guess the question I do have is how do we solve any sort of mismatches? What do organizations actually go through if this mismatch sort of isn't correct?
Probably involves a lot of work to try to work it out. Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah, heaps of work. Well, and I guess to share some insights, on top of the usual activities of those members, resources will also need to spend time working with the data teams to debug and find ways to fix the incorrect data that was loaded. And this, of course, takes time to figure out where the issues have come from, what was the root cause of the issue. An example and something I remember quite clearly from my last project was we attempted several loads of the purchase orders as well as the corresponding GR/IR records. And then, of course, this led to several long nights where every member, lots of client members, lots of members from the functional leads team, as well as the program lead himself, stayed eyes awake, just waiting for a solution for us to fix, just purely because that's how much we were holding up the entire program.
Yeah, wow, it sounds quite extensive and can be quite the impact, I can imagine. Thank you both for sharing. I guess what we might do is we'll shift over to our second key point that we did want to explore today, and that is essentially discussing what can actually be done to improve or even just reduce the risk of failing to reconcile financial data on these types of projects.
Yeah, thanks, Lucas. Yeah, that's also a great question as well. What possibilities are out there? Something that does come into mind would be SAP did launch their flagship product quite recently, the SAP Data Intelligence. Essentially, what it does is it combines the power of integrating, ingesting, orchestrating, processing structured and unstructured data together, which allows businesses to solve the long-standing problem of getting real value out of their multiple streams of data and then turning those into key business insights, which enables that faster decision-making process. I know that was a bit of a mouthful, but so let's summarize. Essentially, this is an end-to-end data management super platform for post-go-live use cases. However, here's where things get interesting. We actually recently participated in a partner hackathon with SAP, they've termed that as a hackathon. And what's significant is we actually used the SAP Data Intelligence platform to solve this very challenge of financial data reconciliation during the transformation project phases. Now, I guess moving forward, we do hope to see SAP we do hope to see more businesses adopt and consume other edge products that SAP have launched to both, solve existing business problems, as well as, of course, during the transformation stages as well.
Yeah, wow, sounds like quite a powerful tool. I think it would be quite interesting for our listeners to hear maybe a little bit more about the experience of learning how to use data intelligence and the actual data solution that you managed to build in there. If you could explore that for us.
Yeah, of course we can. So I think I'll start by answering the first question on how we learned this new product, data intelligence. I think I can be quite open to say that for all of us on this podcast, we were pretty much novice users of data intelligence. I mean, we've heard of the product and we know that, SAP has this new super platform, but we never had the opportunity to actually, practically use it or put it to a use case until the Packathon that Kevin had just mentioned. That opportunity came along, and that really gave us the opportunity to get our hands on this product. So, Kev, do you want to walk through on how we learned that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always interesting learning new products. So as we approached this, and I guess just having experienced it, we thought it was actually quite well laid out. We basically had a range of tutorials where that were available both from SAP as well as the various blogs. And then we also work closely with an SAP mentor that they've assigned us just to help us through any of the other challenges that we've faced as well.
Yeah, beautiful. It sounds like quite a powerful tool that you guys have had that experience with. I guess could you maybe take us through a little bit more about the actual solution that you were able to build in data intelligence during this Packathon?
Yeah. So I guess from the tutorials, that gave us pretty much a foundation on things we can do in data intelligence. And so what we did was we built a smart dashboard, and we also used, SAP Analytics Cloud to really create this dashboard or create this report that would report real-time information of the things that were being loaded into the target system. So let me explain a bit more. In the dashboard, what we can see is the number of records and the number of amounts that were being extracted, transformed, and loaded into the target system. And that report that we had would change in real time. So when data was being extracted, you can see the numbers populate up there, and then you'll see once the data is transformed, you'll see the next column, pop up, and then you'll be able to see the differences between these amounts as well. And if there's any discrepancies or differences, you can see it, flash in red. And that's really powerful for data project teams, because what that information will allow them to do is to be able to detect early on that there's something wrong with the ETL process. There's something that we need to look into to make sure that this doesn't get loaded into a new system, because by the time you load it, it's pretty hard to detect. You kind of have to trace back and try to find where was the issue. So this dashboard allows us to get that insight. And I think every project team should have this kind of dashboard moving forward, because it is a powerful thing that allows teams to work more efficiently. So I think the trick would be to find the right tool for this. And as we know, it's data intelligence, the one that we used.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Would you mind elaborating a little bit on what you mean by the right tool to sort of enable this?
Yeah, sure. So I guess right tool, meaning that to support your ETL process, you need a tool that can connect to the source. So for example, old SAP ECC, you can connect to the new target system S4. And so that, whatever data points, those can flow into the report more easily. So I guess, hope that the listeners on the call can imagine with me how, the capability of team members will be able to be improved if they can, detect all of these issues that arise in your connected source system and your connected target system as well.
Yeah, right. It sounds like quite an impressive and powerful tool that's gonna simplify and definitely hopefully reduce a lot of those errors during that data migration reconciliation process. So sounds very impressive. I guess did you have any sort of anything you wanted to share about the future of the solution and anything that you particularly envisioned for how this solution will develop in the future?
Yeah, thanks, Lucas. And absolutely. I guess after going on this journey and seeing what is possible, we definitely envision this solution down the line, hopefully, to be deployed as an easy to use solution for any and all upcoming SAP S/4HANA project implementations. And of course, scalable not just across specific objects, but to all objects across SAP's wide functional area scope. We also see, and this is something that we haven't touched on as too much during our hackathon, is that we also see an opportunity in the new data intelligence's machine learning capabilities, which could play a really strong role in predicting and preventing data quality issues, especially as we embark on them across numerous projects as well. That way, it provide earlier insight reports, predict points of failure, as well as project what the data quality pathway could look like. Overall, I'd probably say we're just very excited about improving the project experience, especially for those hardworking people that just that are continuously putting in their efforts on projects. What we want to do is we just want to reduce manual efforts so that they can really focus their efforts on what they do best.
Yeah, that's really exciting to hear. It sounds like an incredible asset that does have a bright future in relation to how it's going to develop. And you do obviously sound like a very engaged and passionate team that is driven to drive the solution and build the asset even further, which is exciting. It's been great to hear and share with the listeners in relation to your experiences and the solution that you have built. I guess to close out the podcast, was there a one takeaway that you both wanted to leave the listeners with today as we wrap up?
I guess being true to the theme of what we've been talking about here is really, for your transformational projects, make sure that you prioritize your data journey, because what you're going to input into your system is definitely going to affect how you're going to use and the output that you're going to get. Kevin, what about you?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Just seeing what could go wrong, I strongly recommend anyone embarking on digital transformations to really prioritize data headfirst at the start of projects, and of course throughout and all the way up till go live.
Yeah, that's perfect, guys. Those are some strong messages to leave our listeners with today. We are at the end of the session. We have run out of time. I wanted to thank you both for chatting today and for the time you've taken out. I think you've both provided some really, really great insights that will be really valuable for our listeners today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No, thank you, guys. You're so welcome. If you do want to learn more, please tune in for our next episode. But thank you so much for joining, and enjoy the rest of your day.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Use the links in the show notes to learn more. If this topic is of interest to you, then you might enjoy episode 45, SAP and Deloitte, how SAP BTP enables resiliency, innovation, and growth. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Let's Talk Data podcast.